Welcome to Living on the Wire for week 3. Still recovering from that Dolphins score. That was quite a smash. Even trying to just watch the highlights seemed to take about 350 days. Keith, your team are pish. Oh my gosh, that must have hurt. I mean, there's other teams. You could have one of those other teams be your team. Because wow, 70 points. That's a big fatty right in your chest. Anyway, on with the waiver wire for this week. A little look at how our league is spending their cash. And first up, big news out of LA with the Chargers losing Williams, Allen, and a bunch of other folk throwing some serious cash down to get Quentin Johnson. Congratulations, Allen, for getting him for $37. I hope his leg breaks a little bit. Not like one of those really, really bad ones that ruins his career, but just like enough that I beat you this week and I'm heralded as a hero for smashing Allen because you're the only person in this league that I haven't beat yet. So, yeah, I'm gunning for you. Dropping Joshua Kelly, though, with their number one running back looking doubtful. He might actually get some time this weekend, so depending on how the Chargers play, that could end up backfiring slightly on Allen. For $37, though, could end up being a bargain. Jago and the Loons managing to snap up Marvin Mims. Had a wee go at picking him up myself. $32 was a little bit much for me. Still new at it, but it does look like the quarterback is just about finding him. Wilson does just seem to hit him more often than not, and he's the running back 16 through the first 3 weeks, and in a 16-team league, that's essentially a low-end wide receiver 1 at the moment. So if he keeps playing the way that he's playing at the moment, Jay will be happy to grab up some weapons for his team and get the Loons back on track. Andy, obviously losing Mike Williams at the Chargers and not quite being able to snap up Quentin Johnson, has gone for the next best thing in Joshua Palmer at a much lower price of $17. Depending on how Herbert decides to throw the ball, I think it could be a coin cost between those two players and how many points they get each week. So that could be some smart business there for Andy, although he'll be gutted to have lost Williams this early. And then finally on our big bid, boys, we've got Keith picking up Chase Brown. $15, no one else after him. That's some serious cash for the Bengals' third running back. Although he has been out injured and he's just coming back into things, he might move up the charts, but unless something happens to Mixon, I can't see that being worth its money. But you never know, Keith. Just like me, you could be hoping for just one of them mild wee little baby leg breaks, or one of them high ankle sprains I hear so much about. Then moving on, we've got our bargain bin players. You've got Juju Smith-Schuster is just not playing with any real presence at all in New England. You forget he's there half the time. I forgot he was there watching the game in 40 the other day until that one chance goes his way and doesn't bother catching it, which is a shame because I feel like we lost a good player in order to get Juju, and he's doing absolutely nothing special. So Robin scooping up Jerick McKinnon, who's starting to do a little bit more as the Kansas City team improves and gets their season underway properly now after a really shaky start and using the running game a little bit more. And then my beloved Wildcats, Kamara's back for the Saints, and so no point hanging on to Tony Jones anymore. He's not going to get any action until something happens. And interesting just to see what old Rico is doing as the backup at Dallas. He's getting used a couple of times. He's picking up a few points, and I think he might get used more as the season goes on. Or, again, if any injuries happen, I'm sure he'll end up getting used quite a bit. Allen scooping up Matt Gay for the Colts as they start to improve. He's getting more action, and the Jags are struggling so far this season, so he's outscoring McManus, so just seems like a bit of a matchup pick. And then Downey scooping up the Colts D, who have, I think, are the 5th or 6th on the fantasy scoring defense charts. New England, pretty good defence though, but they do have a much harder run of games coming, so maybe just taking the chance to get out of New England while he could. And then here we go. We've got the little bitty boys. These guys going for not very much money at all. Steve-O getting rid of Garoppolo, who looks like he's going to probably end up injured again. Shock, horror. Kyler Murray could be coming back, and if that team stays as competitive as they seem to be, even though they're not picking up wins, they do seem to be in the fight every week at least. You might be thinking that Kyler Murray could make the difference and start pushing over wins. So if he's back and fit next week, they might be tempted to start playing him, and unless they get told they're on for the tank, in which case they might rest him as much as possible. But I just can't see it. I think they'll play him as soon as he's ready. So Steve might have a good backup quarterback there. And then Andy scooping up Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Huge disappointment of 2 years ago. Was still a disappointment last year. And so far this year has been a disappointment. But along with the Kansas City Chiefs and along with their running game is improving. So bye-bye Sean Tucker. And then Steve picking up his beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. As again, the Jags struggling this season. I hope they get better. They were interesting last year, but at the moment, not much to talk about there. So just moving on and looking for the better matchup. And then let's just celebrate some other guys that were picked up during the week. I might not have everybody on here, but Telfie getting Elijah Mitchell and getting rid of Rashee Rice. Not much to say there. And then Telfie again, changing out his kickers, getting rid of Nick Folk and picking up Graham Gano. Both been on the scene for many, many years now, pretty reliable. It's just about which team's going to give the kicker more opportunities. So looking at the matchups there. Keith scooping up Jacksonville Jaguars defense after they got dropped and letting go of the Falcons defense. And then I've picked up Donald Parham. I'm not going to pretend I know who he is, but he's been getting a bit of love so far this season for Herbert, and Dawson Knox hasn't really been doing much at all. So, yeah, why not? I'll need him in a couple of weeks to cover a bye week. Hopefully he'll get the job done. Or if he starts to score really well, maybe I can move on from Kyle Pitts, who's a bit up and down this season. And well done to Alan and the Chieftains, picking up a few players, dropping some cash money. I think he dropped about $40. I hope that they do terribly for you, Alan, because you're up against me this week, and the Wildcats deserve the win. We were robbed last week with crazy scores from Mostert and defense, just ridiculous. If you took either one of those two out and even just gave them a normal 15-20 point score, then we had the win in the bag. But to have both of those wild scores come against us was just a bit too much. So I'm ready to bounce back and smash Alan in the face. It's nothing personal other than I really want to beat your face. So, except from Alan, who I hope terrible things happen to over the course of the next 24 hours in the realms of fantasy. To the rest of you, may the fantasy gods be kind. Have an amazing weekend. See you later. Bye.